The Giving membership is the complete spiritual growth package. For less than $30 per year, you'll get incredible perks from Giving Company's family of brands, including 5 free movie rentals every month from Christian Cinema and discounts on Christian books. Plus, Giving members have the privilege of partnering with World Vision to help end the global water crisis. Become a Giving member today at givingcompany.com/giving membership and start experiencing more fruitful living. The other side of the road is safe, where we sidestep being bothered and avoid getting involved. But rolling up your sleeves and boldly going where few dare to tread, that's walking through Samaria. Each week on our podcast, we introduce you to the special few who walk in the spirit of the Good Samaritan. On behalf of the Giving Company and your hosts, David Hendrickson and Dan Riveros, welcome to the Walking Through Samaria podcast. Hey everybody, welcome to the Walking Through Samaria podcast. I'm your host, Dan Riveros, with my co-host,
David Hendrickson.
Here we are, man.
We are here.
Season 3, rocking and rolling.
Are you all vaccinated?
I'm not.
You're not?
I haven't even started. No.
0?
Yeah.
I have 1.
I technically still have to wait because I had it not a full 3 months ago. It's almost
that's right.
been 3 months. So.
Well, you're a recovering.
Yeah, I'm a survivor.
Yeah. So
you got yours, right?
I got my first one.
Okay.
I'm doing Pfizer, so I get the second one in 12 days.
Okay, well.
Yeah.
And you're still here, so.
I'm still here.
We're still
my son got
so.
the J&J one yesterday morning,
That's
and
the
now
scary one, yeah.
Everybody's all freaked out about that.
Yeah, so my uncle in Colombia got that one. He was one of the first people, like the test subjects actually for it. And now he's like kind of worried because the blood clot numbers in Colombia are up.
Oh,
and
no.
Same as in Italy.
Oh, gosh.
So that they're recalling it right now.
Really?
Apparently. That's what I'm seeing today.
Man.
Yeah. Wild times.
It is wild.
Well, we got a special guest today, man. Who we got?
You know, this is an interesting one, Dan. Think Shark Tank.
All right.
Maybe The Apprentice.
Okay.
This is real.
We got bosses.
Brian Roland, welcome to the Walking Through Samaria podcast.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me.
How you doing? You're coming all the way from Arizona?
All the way from Arizona. Just had to push the button to get here.
What were you telling us about Arizona? There's no natural disasters.
Oh, well, yeah.
Is that what you were saying?
I'm sure somebody could poke a hole in that theory, but
okay.
I grew up in Kansas, so we spent a lot of time in the basement.
Yeah.
But when we had 3 cars, when the sirens started going off, we ran to the parking garage at the Oak Park Mall to protect the car from hail. So the car was always more important, I think, than our bodies because of that. It's one of those interesting things you look back on. You're like, oh, it's interesting. So then we moved to Nashville. And then, we were there a week after we left Nashville, just a couple weeks ago when we were visiting. Flooded, tornadoes going through the South. So my brother, business partner, we'll talk about him a little bit today, California. So obviously earthquakes.
Yeah.
Arizona, you get heat here and there's these massive dust storms.
Okay.
And
critters,
really
right? We talked about critters, snakes,
the
scorpions, cacti.
Yeah. As long as you're good with rattlesnakes and scorpions and, you're fine.
Well, I would recommend to our listeners, if you ever talk to Brian, talk to him over the internet because natural disasters seem to follow him around. So,
you're not the first person to say that.
Well, Brian, I'm going to read your bio, if you don't mind, to our listeners, and then we're going to dive into a really cool topic. I mean, we've been on this kick of generosity, Dan. Over the last few episodes, and we're going to go at it from a little bit of a different angle. I think we had Terry Johnson on this season from World Vision talking about generosity. Anyway, Brian's got a really cool story. So, Brian, let me rattle off your bio here, and then we're going to dive in. Brian Roland is the founder of and social entrepreneur behind Abenity, a 6-time Inc. 5000 company. And while Abenity serves employers of any size with private perks and discounts, including Fortune 500 companies like U.S. Bank and MasterCard, they've paired their services with a social mission that fights extreme poverty with every program they deliver. Prior to Abenity, Brian spent 5 years in corporate America promoting employee discounts to some of the largest companies in the country on Sprint and Nextel cell phone plans. It was here that Brian realized the world of corporate perks was fragmented, riddled with hidden taxes, fees, and administrative headaches. In response, Brian and his brother Mark started Abenity with a vision to see perks made simple by blending a focus on technology with transparency. Today, Abenity serves hundreds of businesses and millions of members, providing over $4,500 in annual savings per member, complete content control, and even deeper discounts than you'll find from AAA or AARP. Recently, Abenity exceeded $1 million of total giving and hired a new CEO to continue growing the business. Today, Brian is investing a large portion of his time into helping like-minded entrepreneurs establish and launch a giving plan of their own. If you'd like to connect more personally with Brian, we'll share his number with you at the end of the show so that you can start a conversation on your own. Brian, again, it is great to have you on the Walking Through Samaria podcast.
Welcome, man.
Hey, Brian,
thanks so much. Great intro.
You should know what the term that Dan and I use for people that spent time in corporate America.
Oh, I love it. What is it?
Tell them.
Corporate weenie. Corporate weenie.
Do you identify?
So we have to talk about your time as a corporate weenie at some point. So I say that affectionately because that's what I was before I came to Giving Company. That's what Terry Johnson was before he went to World Vision. That's what Philip Langford was before he went to International Justice Mission. So, good things can come out of being a corporate weenie.
Yeah, lots of perspective and lots of opportunities that you see, and that's
relationships and experience and all that. So how does somebody become the founder of a 6-time Inc. 5000 company? What is an Inc. 5000 company?
Yeah, so Inc. magazine annually puts out a list of the fastest growing private companies in America. It's based on a 3-year average revenue growth rate. And you need to have at least $2 million in annual revenue to qualify. And so, and then from there, it's just a numbers game. What are the top 5,000 fastest growing companies in America? And we've been on the list for the last 6 years. So
that's outstanding.
Been an awesome
So you're
journey.
not just 6-time, you're like 6 concurrent, like
6 consecutive.
You're on a roll.
On a roll.
Nice.
Yeah, it's been good, and what does it take? That's what it takes to be on the list as an entrepreneur. Specifically talking kind of corporate America. I'm always telling folks, because lots of people are looking to start something, to do something, to kind of take their side hustle full time, to find a side hustle. And the simple truth to doing that is to find a gap and fill it. That's good. Technology opens up new ways to fill gaps all the time.
Right.
And it's really just for the thinker out there to just always be paying attention to what's around you, looking for those gaps and filling them. Our particular space is fascinating with Abenity because it serves this need that when companies get maybe 300 employees, they really start dealing with the local community, offering them discounts to reach their employees. And big companies with thousands of employees have dozens, if not hundreds, of discounts that have been offered to them for their employees as a benefit. And these companies haven't the resources to really organize them, deliver them, vet them, and make them accessible to the employees as a benefit. It's just a side thing that kind of grows inside these big companies, and no person in HR has the title, discount specialist for employees. They're over corporate benefits, they're over corporate rewards and recognition, they're over corporate wellness. They're over insurance products. There's lots of buckets. There's no bucket for perks. And so we recognize that, and we built a platform that essentially builds that bridge so that HR folks can stay focused on what they're doing. And then we opened a small business model that helps smaller companies like us offer the same benefits through the same platform as we do for these big guys.
Nice.
So
get ready, Dan. Dan, you're going to be a recipient of Abenity in however long it takes us to get set up, right?
Yeah.
Right, Brian?
24 hours for you guys.
Yeah.
Turn it on.
Turn it on.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So, Brian, if you don't mind, tell us a little bit. I'm sure our listeners are like, man, this guy is a mover and shaker in the world of technology, and we're going to talk more about culture and generosity in a second. But let's go all the way back, if you don't mind. Give our listeners a little bit of color on your upbringing, your background. You went to Belmont, which is, one of the big kind of music and faith-based universities in the city of Nashville, really close to Vanderbilt. Let's get the color on you as a youngster.
Yeah, no, that sounds fun. So back to my tornado dodging days, growing up in Kansas City. I grew up really, entrepreneurial from the get-go, always kind of doing something. I see it in my 10-year-old now. She's got her R&R design, where she basically colors and then she sells them in our neighborhood.
Nice.
And she's flipping the model. She's giving away free lemonade when you buy one of her art pieces. She's 10,
That's good. That's good.
I didn't teach her this. I tell her, give it away for free or put the money towards something good with generosity. So that was kind of me too in the early days. And I probably started as a musician and performer, was my first artistic entrepreneurial venture.
There you go.
And I play the trumpet. Spent a lot of time playing the trumpet in high school, and really saw that as an opportunity for me to kind of have all the energy and everything that I was excited about as an entrepreneur and to grow. That led me to going to Kansas State University, and as
KSU, the Wildcats.
KSU Wildcats.
Yeah.
I went there on scholarship playing my trumpet. I got to, I was on the football field every weekend. I got to go to the bowl games. I kind of skipped the part about marching band because it sounds better to just be like I was on the football field. But
marching band is cool. Marching band is cool, particularly in college.
I was the guy with the big hat.
Nice. Yeah. What'd you have to spell? Did you have to spell KSU or Go Cats or something?
Yeah. Those moves were hard. They work you hard. I wouldn't have been a good. I wouldn't have been able to survive too long with that. I'm a wimp at some of that stuff, but I love to play, and really my ambition at that time was to use that my music as a vehicle for ministry, for worship. I was always in the worship team in some capacity. I went to college to get my degree in optometry because I felt like being an optometrist was a way to make good money.
Well, and it's a logical step to corporate perks, right? I mean, what could be more correlated?
Super logical. So like for the youngsters out there, it's like, don't, just go ahead and dream, but don't hold it too tight. Cause I was into the brain and I love this book. I can't find it now. If anybody can send it to me, if they find it, called The Anatomy of a Psychiatric Illness. Why does a teenager care about that? But I was fascinated by that book. And so I saw optometry as a way to provide for myself so that I could keep doing music. And so that's what I pursued. And then early in my time at KSU, I started kind of feeling like I was trying to control my own destiny, and I wasn't acting with a lot of faith, and I was acting more with my own works. And I learned about Belmont University through a concert that this artist back in 2001, her name's Rachel Lampa. She's somebody I got to meet a couple times along the way in my later years. And her producer, Brent Bourgeois, who's pretty well known in the Nashville area, talked about Belmont. I learned about Belmont, and that brought me to Belmont. And I really started pursuing kind of this, let's just following my heart, it was my first pursuit of meaningful work, where I kind of abandoned the formula that you kind of create for yourself. And I kind of opened myself up to this idea of like, let's just be all in for something that matters, and pursuing, what the Lord's put on your heart. And so I think that was kind of that first big step. And Belmont University was great. That was, it was a great place to be. Super talented people.
Yeah. It's a cool place. Yeah. Gets the Nashville vibe.
Totally. Yeah. It's smack down in the middle of Nashville.
Yeah.
So from there, Belmont became just a bridge for me into the Christian music industry. I spent most of my years at Belmont. I actually got my degree in business administration, but with a focus on production and studio engineering. Cool. So I was in Ocean Way Studio and Music Row a lot, and got a fun degree and spent my time interning with the Gospel Music Association, and really I just hit a point in the music industry kind of early years where it wasn't the entrepreneurial culture that my personality needed to thrive in.
Yeah.
And so I pursued and offered to sell cell phones right out of school, and kind of leaving the music industry on the sideline, kind of still open to doing what I could. But I started selling phones, and that's where I learned about kind of corporate perks.
That's awesome. So I think when I mentioned Missy before we started recording, I think you've got a group of folks in Franklin, Tennessee. Is that right, for Abenity?
Yeah. So we started in 2006 as a fully distributed team, and we've kept it that way. But about a third of our employees are in Tennessee. And several of them are out in the kind of Franklin area.
Yeah.
Nashville,
Franklin,
area.
Brentwood, like we, those of us in the industry, and our listeners, I'm sure have heard this many times. Franklin, Tennessee is one of those epicenters, if you will, of Christian media. I would say maybe Grand Rapids, Michigan would be one, where Zondervan started, and Family Christian Stores. Of course, there's broader Nashville with Lifeway, et cetera. Colorado Springs, has a whole host of ministries there. Franklin, this little small town outside of Nashville, is one of those epicenters. Can you tell our listeners kind of how's Franklin doing? Are they hanging in there with COVID? What's your team telling you about how the state of Franklin is these days?
Well, I mean, Franklin's a really resilient place, but they've had a hard year. I mean, from tornadoes to obviously COVID hit us all, and then they got hit with another flood the week just a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
But what I love about Franklin is, like you said, it's just this kind of epicenter for Christian and family friendly creatives. There's a lot of talented people there that are pursuing meaningful work and have a lot of generosity built into their professional models. And so, everyone's kind of pivoting in many, many ways, but just the Nashville area as a whole kind of has that same vibe. I saw just the other day that the radio stations K-Love and Air One, their headquarters is moving from California to the Nashville area. And so everybody's kind of adapting right now, and trying to figure out how to do things in a new way. But a lot of those folks are right there in the Franklin area. It's awesome. It's a great place.
It's a cool place. I've been there a lot. I don't think I've been there since COVID. I'll be there in a couple weeks, but it really is, for any of our listeners out there, if you ever get a chance to go see Franklin, it is It's just a cool place with a great vibe and great downtown and great food. Get hot chicken, the whole deal.
Love that hot chicken. Never been to Franklin, but I love the hot chicken.
Yeah.
So tell us.
Go grab yourself a blue rubber ducky from the fountain at First Bank. My buddy.
Okay. There you go.
They fill their fountain with blue rubber duckies. It's awesome.
Oh, that's
cool. The kids love it.
All right. Well, speaking of kids, tell us about your family now. You got wife, kids, and what's the philosophy to that work-life balance, man?
Yeah, that's so my youngest is 6, my firstborn is 10, and my other firstborn is 19. My wife and I are firstborns. We have 4 firstborns in a family of 5. We adopted our second firstborn when she was 12. Her name's Valya, and she's from Ukraine. And we went and did a big rescue mission to bring her home while Ukraine's government was being overthrown in 2014.
Wow.
I was there during the Sochi Olympics, and really, I remember saying to the guy I was staying with, I was like, as long as Russia's hosting the Olympics, they're not going to do anything to Ukraine. But they were lined up on Ukraine's border, basically waiting for the right opportunity.
Wow.
So, and anyway, that was a big pivotal moment in our lives when we brought her home, and we met her through a hosting exchange program, which I'd encourage everybody to do. There are kids from orphanages around the world who a lot of the most dangerous situations these kids are in, where they're the most vulnerable, is during the summer times, and they kind of take these countries, stop funding these schools that they're in for the school year, and they send them kind of to the summer camp and lump them all together, where there's kids ages 7 to 17 in one spot with, 1 adult to 100 kids kind of ratios. It's not good at all. It's a lot of groups go over there and serve them and do camps and stuff during this time. But certain kids get to leave that for the summer and come and be hosted by a family. And so we just said yes to, sure, we'll host someone. And it was Valya, and we fell in love with her right away. And we made sure that she came right back to us as soon as possible. So we pursued that adoption journey.
Yeah.
Work-life balance, one of the best things. So recently my role at work, you kind of mentioned, has changed. I've shifted from really running the organization to allowing stronger leaders to grow and thrive the business. And I've been operating more in a founder role, and thinking forward for the business and doing fun things like this with you guys. And that new kind of routine for me, I feel like for the first 10 years of the business, I had 10 different jobs, and I've slowly given my jobs to stronger leaders. And that's been a really good thing. And I've really been spending the last 6 months kind of debriefing, how we got to where we are, and been doing some writing and trying to just put some vocabulary to the experience. And one thing that I realized was, my interest in building a remote team from day one. And we started Abenity with a social mission. When me working in corporate America and selling cell phones was a really great experience. But I hit a point where I was making really good money, and my why am I doing this, was simply to help people save money on their cell phones, which
helpful.
Yeah, that's right. It's not.
We need those.
That's
helpful.
not bad. That's not bad.
It's not. It was. Yeah, and I mean, there are some jobs you can't even get that far. It's like, I saved David, $100 a year. That's not a bad thing, but it wasn't enough for me. And really, I had automated that team and that I was running, so that I wasn't even needed for that to continue happening. And so I really hit this kind of, pivotal why moment. Like, why am I doing this? And so when we learned about the opportunity out there in the market for a product like Abenity, we decided to make sure that there was an output to something meaningful for every input into the business. And so at the time, the biggest challenge we could think of was fighting extreme poverty. And extreme poverty is the United Nations #1 sustainability goal. Their target has been set to eradicate extreme poverty everywhere by the year 2030. World Vision is a group that my wife introduced me to, and their mission is to see that happen at the field level. And so I went to them essentially with this plan that says, hey, for every dollar in, we want to give this much to World Vision. And really that kicked it off. It really kicked off this idea that whatever we started doing, we wanted to make sure that we were working for something bigger than our product, bigger than our industry, and bigger than ourselves. And that really is by design. And the fact that, if our mission is just our product, well, our product's going to fail us one day. And for any number of reasons, especially if it's a technology product, it's going to have fail points. And if you built your foundation on something with a fail point, you're not going to make it. And same thing with the industry. Industries change and pivot, and they have new needs. Industries are always, kind of angled against suppliers and products in a way. They both want something from each other, and they both have to give something in return. And so they're not sitting on the same side of the table. So that's not really a healthy place to have your why is in your industry. And same thing personally, like you put your why in your own lifestyle and you put your why in your family. Well, if you have kids are for sure going to throw you curveballs that make your why really hard to stay excited about. If you're married, it's the same thing. Marriage is a constant process of serving someone else despite what you think in a lot of ways. And so, for us, it was like, what can we put our why in that's outside of these things that will be hard? And fighting for kids who are living on less than $1 a day in the developing world is a cause that no matter how hard things get, that we're always going to want to fight for. Yeah. And so that really led us to building Abenity with this social mission. Second in priority to that was really this work-life balance. And as we're choosing our structure, I did want to be present with my family. We didn't have kids when we started the business, but I knew we would one day. And so really out of necessity, my brother was living in California. I was in Nashville area. And so we started the business with a remote team. But then as we started hiring other people, we put the priority on the people that we wanted to work with and not the place where we wanted them to work. And so we didn't let geography hold us back from working with someone. And we kind of made people the heart of our pursuit and in our growth. And really that led us to this model where we're a fully distributed team. We say perks are about people. And then what I think is kind of most interesting that I've just kind of been able to put words to in the last little bit is the success of our business is something that's is extremely countercultural, especially in a corporate America perspective. And that is by prioritizing our personal lives and allowing our people to prioritize their personal lives over their work lives, we're able to do more and accomplish more together. Yeah. And
I mean, you're not extracting from their personal experience through their work requirements and responsibilities. And I think that's a great place for an employer to be, where an employee doesn't feel like they're losing something by the time and effort that they put towards their work.
Yeah, exactly. And pre-COVID, I think that if I went into any executive in corporate America as their employee, and I said, I think if you allowed me to prioritize my personal life over my work life, that I would perform better for you.
Right.
The executive would look at them and say, sorry, did you just say your personal life's more important than our business? And that person would say, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't I work for you so that I can provide for my family, which makes my family the primary? But that's not the way corporate America thinks. But I think that same conversation 2 years ago would have happened if you said, if you went into your boss and you said, hey, I think if you allowed me to work from home, I would be more productive and efficient for the company. I'd save you a lot of money. I'd cut an hour of commute time every day. I'd go from an hour-long lunch to a 20-minute lunch, and I'd be happier and more productive. They'd look at you like you're crazy. But that's the experience everybody learned in this last year is that the level of competency that you need in your professional life is attainable working from home. It's something we discovered a long time ago.
So you guys are a little bit ahead of the curve on this from a COVID standpoint. I want to dive into each of these real quickly, Brian, if we can, which is you've got a business that does have a tangible benefit, right? The perks, rewards, saving money. It's something that people can get their arms around. Then you've got this business philosophy leaning towards generosity. Specifically, you guys are going after extreme poverty. The third pillar, if you will, is a unique work-life balance kind of approach to remote work. I mean, all of those things make up the Abenity story. Let's start with the first one, if you don't mind. Give our listeners just a little bit more color on how the business works. So there's this $4,500 a year per member in savings. Give our team a little bit more color on what does it mean to be a member of Abenity, like you might be AAA or AARP, as you mentioned.
Yeah, great question. So if you work for any large company, you're going to get perks and benefits as a part of being their employee. If you work for a national association, you're going to have perks and benefits being a part of their association. Same with university alumni groups, customer loyalty and rewards programs. Yeah. All these kind of things fit under this same umbrella.
Starbucks. And so, Dan, Starbucks.
Yeah.
I have lots of stars.
Yeah.
From Starbucks. That's my thing. Sorry, Brian. Go ahead.
That's okay. That's a whole different coffee bullet we could talk
That's
about.
Right. That's right. We share our coffee fetish.
So we've gone out and we've volume negotiated discounts and corporate rates on everything from pizza and the zoo to movie tickets, oil changes, car rentals, theme parks, hotels, across kind of the consumer category of spending. And so no matter what you're spending money on, we have a way for you to save money on that expense through one of our corporate rates. So, I mean, oil changes, new tires, maintenance. We've got national contracts with Firestone, Jiffy Lube, Goodyear. Disneyland, Regal, AMC, Cinemark theaters, every Six Flags park, every SeaWorld park. We've negotiated discounts. Every Quiznos in the country does free chips and a drink with purchase of a sandwich. So we go out and we volume negotiate these offers.
Yeah.
We put them in one place for within our mobile apps and our web platform to make it easy for our members to go out and redeem and utilize these discounts. and we brand the whole experience for the employer or for the group so that it's providing a private loyalty experience, engagement experience for them. And so we really come in and we do that in a different way than the rest of our industry. A lot of our industry makes all their money from advertising. Generally, that means they're pushing products that aren't what people need every single day. They make their money off insurance policies, which I don't think anybody gets super excited about. Besides my COO, he loves those things. I don't get it. And then another way people make their money in our space is off the ticket sales, and they take kind of a wholesale price and they mark it up as high as they can. I mean, if you've ever bought a ticket from Ticketmaster, you're like, oh man, this isn't bad. It's a $60 ticket. Somehow when you click one more click before you put in your credit card, it goes from 60 to like 130.
That's right. That's right.
Like, what just happened? What just happened? So we're eradicating that extra taxes and fees experience, and so we're delivering wholesale rates to allow us to kind of put the focus on the members and the focus on the savings and offer more savings on the back end. We have a low subscription fee on the front end at the employer level. So we're not a cost-free benefit, but a group with a group of any size can get started with us as low as $350 a month. Our small business plan, if you have less than 150 employees, it's $150 a month.
Yeah.
And then, we have some plans that are as high as $5,000 a month based on kind of these enterprise level groups that we serve, a lot of Fortune 100
That's
companies
awesome.
that have a lot bigger needs. So that's Abenity. We're about 2 weeks away from our 3 millionth member, registering our 3 millionth member. And we add about 2,000 new people every day. So it's a neat product, and
that's how you get to be Inc. 5,000, Dan.
That's it.
Right?
Yeah.
2,000 people a day. So
that's awesome.
you use this term social entrepreneurism, and clearly this is in your DNA, the idea of generosity and working for something bigger than your product, bigger than your industry, bigger than yourselves. You mentioned the introduction to World Vision. We were on the phone with one of your employees, Missy, earlier this week, and she was over the moon excited about, I think, the next child that was getting sponsored. And you all talk at the end of any given month, how much money is there for additional work to go towards the poor, additional contributions to go towards the poor. Just give our listeners a little bit more insight into how that works. Do you add up the money at the end of every day, like the people, every month? How do you decide where it goes, that kind of thing?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's too much to unpack here, but I wrote an article called "The Unexpected Perks of a Social Business," and I really it's like a 7-minute read. I broke down all the things that really have been surprising about this kind of my personal pursuit of meaningful work, how that has converted into not only impacting me, but building a team around a cause, but then impacting our industry and then our suppliers and just how it's really exploded. And if you got to meet Missy, she's actually been invited to participate in the advisory board of the Strong Women, Strong World at World Vision.
That's awesome.
She's wonderful. I think when it comes to social entrepreneurship, having a social business is simply deciding that I'm going to do something good with my business. And so, for like a Tom's shoes, that's for every pair.
Buy one, give one. Yep.
Give one. I know a business owner I was talking to last week. He runs a residential painting company, and for him, he wants his. He's thinking that for every X homes that he paints, he will donate a paint project. And for us, we decided to give a percentage of our our net profit towards World Vision in a formulaic way, so that we don't decide at the end of the year what we're going to give. It's just an output. It's there. It's almost like profit sharing. And so what I've found is lots of business owners plan to give, and they have a giving heart, but they don't have a plan for giving. And when you don't have a giving plan, then you can't cast vision, you can't communicate what you want to do, and you have to put a lot of thought into it. And for me, one of the situations I don't want to be in is I don't want to be in a meeting at the end of the year that says, hey, we have this much money to distribute. How much do you want to give away to people in need? I was like, that's an impossible question for me to answer. It's like, they need it way more than I do. And so the giving plan allows me to have a healthy way to answer that question.
Yeah, that's good.
And to keep external motivations out of it.
Yeah.
And so some practical things that we do, the first year we wrote a check to World Vision, which was fine. It was great. I was excited to be able to do that. But then I didn't think about it until the next time we needed to write a check. And so we decided to start sponsoring a child with each program that signed on with us for a corporate account. And we began doing that at World Vision. And so instead of counting new customers, we started new kids we sponsor. And so, if you talk to Missy, maybe even a few days ago, we just added 16 more kids from our recent growth.
That's awesome.
With World Vision, which brings us up to 240, I think, 6 total kids we sponsor. Awesome. And so we brought that into the lifeblood of the organization as we sponsor kids with the perks we deliver. And when we say perks are about people, we want everyone to know that what they do matters and they can make a difference. And that's whether they're an employee at a Fortune 500 company or an orphan in the developing world. And ultimately, that is the heart of our mission. From there, we have little celebrations along the way that we build our social mission in and communicate it to folks. Our people, our team members and their kids are pen pals with some of the kids we sponsor, which is fun. They're writing dozens of letters a month. We track. We have a positive cash flow day. So as a business owner, one thing that's really good is having your team know that. One, you don't always make money every single month. A lot of people assume that you do. Right. It doesn't work. It doesn't work that way. And two, so a lot of times you're just getting positive cash flow at the end of the month, like the final hour. And so we've built kind of cash positive day into our business, which we're privately funded and debt free, and we've never taken outside investment, and so we have a lot of control over that whole process. But we'll do a little internal trivia question, and we'll let the team member that gets it right pick what cause at World Vision we support for that month from that kind of cash positive result.
Gotcha.
And then at the end of the year, World Vision has their giving catalog where they have all these beautiful handcrafted gifts, and we let all of our customers pick a handcrafted gift out of the giving catalog at World Vision, the gift catalog, and World Vision ships it directly to the customer, and that's a really neat extension of the program. So the people working with us get something they can have on their desk or wear that reminds them of the work we're doing.
That's awesome.
Very cool.
Really good stuff.
So you were kind of ahead of the curve, I guess, with the whole work from home thing and how time's utilized. And I think most companies have kind of learned that from COVID after this last year, that, there's a new way of doing things, and some businesses are open up to that. How else did COVID affect your business?
Well, about half of our revenue comes from the sale of theme park and admission tickets.
Oh, wow.
Man.
And,
yeah.
Movie tickets. So we didn't have an awesome top line revenue year last year. Now, thankfully, our model is to give away the wholesale margin to the member as savings. So it's not a profit center for us. So we were just as healthy. Top line's vanity, bottom line sanity.
Yeah.
But we had a lot of folks that made plans for their whole year and had pre-purchased tickets. We processed a lot of refunds. Refunds in our world take a long time to process because we're dealing with digital inventories and products. So, we have to actually work with the parks and cancel the barcodes and all this business. And, outside of that, we shifted our focus from kind of our travel and entertainment benefits focus that was a part of kind of that spring break routine and summer travel routine. And we shifted to kind of stay-at-home benefits, things that you can enjoy from home. And so that became, some exercise classes at home, food delivery services, working with online retailers. And we actually just saw a shift in the merchants that we work with and partner with. And we're a neat source for the merchant. So someone that has a product they want to get in front of folks, as long as they're willing to add a savings of some sort, then they can be listed on our platform for everyone to enjoy. So that was really good.
That's incredible. I never thought about the ticket, the ticket piece of things. And you mentioned though, gross margin's still okay, right? So anyway, good for you guys. And I just want to echo what Dan said for a second. You have been a business. Now, I always feel like doing things from the ground up are easier than transitioning. So if somebody's used to working in their big downtown office, transitioning to work from home is harder. And how do you decide to go back or not? And if so, in what context? But you all at Abenity have seemed to make the cultural side of it, not just the logistical side and the productivity side, but also the cultural side, like the hiring side, work in a fully remote distributed model, as you mentioned. So it's really awesome. I think there's a YouTube video out there on that, Brian, if I remember correctly, about the unique culture at Abenity, even though it's distributed.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. If I don't know if you have show notes or anything afterwards, but we could drop a link in there to the video because it's a good one. And you can find my YouTube channel searching my name on YouTube, where you can find it too.
Yeah.
But we've, there's a few things that I think that allows remote work to be successful. And my biggest fear right now for companies that have plunged into remote work because of COVID is really comes from the fact that they haven't built the foundation that they need to for remote work to succeed long term. And so I think that I think there's kind of three pillars for remote work to be healthy. And one is you kind of have to build it on with meaningful relationships with people that care about each other. And that's not a given. So that has a lot to do with how you hire. I mean, in our hiring process, we look at three things when we sit down with folks. And we say it is, we look at can do, will do, and team fit. And really they have to be, all three of them have to be strong for it to be a good fit for us. And so meaningful relationships is really important. We got to the place where to kind of that we look at 3 degrees of separation from any existing team member as kind of our measuring stick for, are they likely going to be good with can do, will do, and team fit? And that's not a luxury every business has. It's not practical for everyone, but for us, that's what we really found allows us to lock in people that are aligned as they need to be. When you have people that that work well together and care about each other, you end up developing common values, and those shared values need to point at a cause, which gets to our social mission that we talked about earlier. And so when you have shared values and shared purpose together, it's really the recipe for a community. Yeah. And when you have community, they can ride the ups and downs, and the venue of work doesn't really matter. And so whether you're working from home, that's your venue, or whether you're in an office, that's your venue. It's really a cultural question. And so what concerns me most is everyone rushed to work from home, and it worked well because they all had a common enemy. They all had a shared purpose. Fighting against COVID. And when the concerns of COVID dissipate, and they will eventually, all of a sudden they're going to have a team that's not glued together for anymore, and you're just going to have a bunch of people living on islands. And that's not a healthy situation. And then a lot of companies are taking the easy path and saying, stay home if you want to stay home, come back in the office if you want to come back in the office. And that approach is also going to not work, because there's a lot of people that would love to stay home, but they can't. They don't have the physical space. They've got young kids. They've got noisy neighbors. And so it's just going to breed resentment. It's like, I wish I could stay home, but I don't have the luxury of X that so-and-so does. And so just that simple fact alone is going to be problematic for culture and having healthy cultures. And so remote work is not just like a work wherever you want mentality. There's a lot that has to go into it to set it up for long-term success.
Well, congratulations to you guys for having, being ahead of the curve. And it sounded like it was just consistent with who you all are as an entity, as opposed to, like you said, somebody force fitting it for some other reason. Before we wind down, Brian, and you can tell people how to connect to you and to Abenity in a second. This is a podcast about being a good Samaritan. And the parable in Luke chapter 10 is a Samaritan who walks across the road to tend to somebody who has been ignored by people that shouldn't have ignored him or her. And that Samaritan also tended to somebody that was different from him. Mm-hmm. This concept of generosity, Dan and I believe, really fits the Good Samaritan theme, if you will, because in many cases, the context of walking across the road is sponsoring the child, stroking the check, getting involved, whatever it might be. But in the case of generosity, you may not know all of the good work that gets done, unlike the Samaritan who knew the inn that he was putting the Jewish person in and how much it would cost and all those kinds of things. Knowing that generosity, we believe, is one of those areas where people can be good Samaritans, what would your advice be to our listeners about embracing generosity, either personally, corporately, or both?
Yeah. No, I think that's good. Great question. I think the challenge is, I think many people by nature are generous. They genuinely care about people around them. They genuinely care about extreme needs that exist out there. The problem is having a generous spirit and generous heart is not enough in this case, because so many things get in the way of that. And really, I think it comes down to when you don't have a plan that you can follow, then you don't have anything you can execute, that you can do, that you can get done. You triggered something I remembered early on in our marriage. my wife and I both wanted to be generous, but she was, when you're managing a budget tightly, she was wanting to be generous kind of reactively. And I was wanting to make sure that kind of heartfelt generosity fit in the budget is something we could sustain.
Right.
I wanted to be generous too, but I wanted to make sure we could sustain it. And so I was holding her back in her moment of generosity. And so we early on just put, in our early days, we just started setting aside $100 a month in a budget category called needs for others. And I remember sitting one time and getting my tires changed and waiting for my tires to be changed. And this lady walked in with a kid, and the guy said, I think he just got her an oil change. And he said, ma'am, your tires are bald. And she's like, I can't afford to change them. And he's like, well, they're not safe for water. And so I knew that we had that $100. And so I just went up and we put that money towards that lady's need in that moment. And I wouldn't have done that if I hadn't had that money already set aside.
Right.
If I didn't have a plan. And so that is why I've been so kind of stuck in a lot of my conversations saying, the missing piece is really just having this giving plan. Several of my friends have asked me to put together just kind of like a one-sheeter, like, well, can you just put together a one-sheeter so I can come up with a giving plan? Because I don't even know where to get started. So that's kind of my current project is this one-sheeter. Because I think by having the plan to give and being present in the moments around you, that's the story of the Good Samaritan. Because the people that walked by, the priest that walked by, his head was just in the wrong space, and he didn't have a plan that he could follow that allowed him to serve that person right then. He let his schedule to wherever he had to go take precedent. I imagine if he had somebody he knew who he could call, or one thing we like to do in our personal life too is we keep $5 McDonald's gift cards in our middle console of our car. So when we see somebody in our community
that's cool. Yep.
standing around, we've got a card, a McDonald's gift card and a Bible verse card in there. It's just like, here's a meal. Yeah. And we do that for all our employees. Every year we send them 10 $5 McDonald's gift cards to keep in their cars.
That's awesome.
So that we're equipping people to do that. Yeah. I think it's really just having a plan and being present. And so, for the listeners, I think it's come up with a plan. What do you care about? There's simple steps you can do. We've got friends that have crisis hotline pieces of paper that they put in with water bottles and a plastic bag and some crackers and stuff, and they hand them out to people. And it's just it's just being present in the moment and making a plan around it.
Love it. That's really great.
Very cool.
Love it.
So how can people learn more about Abenity?
Yep. No, appreciate it. Well, if you want to learn about Abenity, I've got a code you can use to save $150 off your own perks program. It's Founder150, all one word.
Nice.
You can go to Abenity.com and drop that code in there. Request a demo if you want to have a conversation and learn more. You can, if you're ready to go, you can just sign up your group from our pricing page. And then if you want to connect with me on any of these topics, I'm really looking for opportunities to just connect with other people that are thinking like me or that have questions. I'm in a neat phase of life. And so if you'll just shoot me a text, then we can start the conversation from there and you can join my community. Text the word Brian to area code 615-802-6853.
There you go.
That is outstanding.
You got it, guys. You can text them directly.
Look at that. Our listeners are going to be like, what?
Yeah.
We got coupon codes. We got cell phone numbers.
That's awesome.
Outstanding.
Well, Brian, thank you so much for being on the show, man. Appreciate you.
Yeah, Brian, this has just been amazing. Dan and I are inspired by your story and your business and your personal approach to generosity. It includes adoption. I mean, you are out there truly doing the work of the Good Samaritan. This has been a really fun conversation.
A lot of good stuff.
Well, thank you guys. I had a lot of fun too. This is great.
Well, hey everybody, this is David Hendrickson with my co-host
Dan Riveros.
This is our latest episode of the Walking Through Samaria podcast with Brian Roland. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll talk to you next time.
Thanks. For more content like this, visit us at givingcompany.com. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time on Walking Through Samaria.